Dawn paints the Masai Mara grasslands golden, the first rays of the day spread across the tall grasses swaying in the wind. A leopard family lives in this area, consisting of a mother leopard and 3 small, agile but clumsy cubs. In the pack, the youngest stands out for its curiosity, often wandering and easily distracted when practicing hunting. Mother leopards patiently teach them how to stalk their prey, crouch low and move slowly like moving shadows. When the moment was right, the mother rushed out with terrifying speed, leaving a dry draft behind her. The youngest child often imitates but is too hasty, revealing himself too soon and missing out on the chance of success. Although clumsy, his eyes still showed restlessness and a desire to prove himself to his family. Every day, the whole herd moves together, both hunting and training the 3 young ones in survival skills. The soft growls and the sound of bodies rubbing together, filled with family affection, echoed across the vast grasslands. Everything seemed peaceful, until the day the youngest leopard accidentally lost its mother's protective arms. That afternoon, the leopard family stepped into the thick grass to continue their hunting practice in the fading sunlight. The mother leopard signaled with her eyes for her 3 cubs to stalk a herd of rabbits grazing not far away. The youngest immediately jumped up and rushed forward, ignoring the warning signal that had not yet been given. The grass was flying everywhere, and footsteps were rushing, but it missed its prey by a hair's breadth. When he stopped to catch his breath, he raised his head to look for his mother and 2 siblings but saw no familiar figures. The only sound in the space was the whistling wind and buzzing insects, no response from the beloved leopards. It let out a weak cry, calling out in despair, but the sound was lost, fading into the vast void. Panicked, the cub began to run wildly, its weak legs stomping on the weeds and rustling dry branches. Gradually, its uncertain footsteps took it out of the comfort zone of its familiar nature reserve. The air changed strangely, carrying the smell of smoke, wood, and traces of strange people. The youngest leopard stopped a few times, sniffing, then curiously moved closer towards the previously unknown scent. Little did it know that every step it took away was one step closer to human settlement. After hours of wandering, it emerged into an empty land, no longer the familiar steppe of the wild. Before his eyes, he could see a few wooden houses scattered along the edge of the forest, peaceful under the dark red sunset. It followed the small path, around strange bushes, gradually entering the backyard of a house. The house belongs to Daniel Okoro, a gentle middle-aged man who lives with his wife and 2 young children. Behind the house is a small vegetable garden and a large wooden porch, where he often relaxes after a day's work. The little leopard sniffed softly, smelling the scent of meat scattered from the kitchen wafting on the cool afternoon breeze. It crept closer, looking tired but curious, its yellow eyes wide and wary as it scanned its surroundings. Silence filled the garden, except for the sound of insects and leaves rustling in the breeze. The young leopard lowered its head and crawled through the grass on the porch, hiding right next to the wooden fence without anyone knowing. Inside, Daniel placed the bucket of water by the sink, then leisurely walked out into the garden as usual. An unexpected encounter between man and beast is about to take place, changing this seemingly peaceful afternoon. Daniel pushed open the wooden door and stepped out, intending to water the vegetable beds, but his eyes immediately froze when he saw the scene before him. A young leopard, its body speckled with black spots, was standing still, looking at him, only a few short meters away. In a moment of terror, Daniel reflexively screamed, the sound echoing throughout the small courtyard. The leopard jumped, its ears flattened, its eyes filled with fear, then it immediately turned around and ran away. It rushed towards the porch, but instead of escaping, it got stuck in the narrow gap of the wooden fence. Its long body pressed between 2 hard wooden bars, it growled and struggled continuously in pain and fear. The small cry mixed with the sound of scratching wood echoed, causing Daniel to stand still, his heart pounding. He was both terrified and helpless, but seeing the young animal's pain in his eyes made his heart sink. Daniel stepped back, hands shaking, sweat pouring down his forehead, trying to take a deep breath to calm himself. After a tense moment, he quickly understood that only calling the Rangers could save the situation. And so, trembling, he pulled out his phone and dialed the emergency number to alert the Masai Mara Rangers immediately. Daniel's voice trailed off as he recounted the situation, stressing that the cub was in dire straits. The operator reassured him, told him to keep his distance and wait for the rescue team to arrive as soon as possible. Daniel stood back against the door, still watching the cub howling, his eyes frantically searching for a way out. After only 15 tense minutes, a moss green Ranger pickup truck appeared at the end of the dirt road. Two experienced rangers, Samuel Mbeki and Joseph Ndlovu, got out of the car, carrying rescue equipment and tranquilizer guns. They quickly grasped the situation, exchanged glances, and then prepared the safest approach. Samuel loaded the tranquilizer syringe into the gun, aiming carefully through the gap in the wooden fence. A whoosh sound was heard, the needle pierced precisely into the shoulder of the struggling leopard cub. Just a few minutes later, its body sagged, its low growls fading, indicating that the drug had begun to take effect. Joseph and Samuel signaled Daniel to move further away, while they moved closer to prepare to pull it out. The atmosphere remained tense, but hope gradually rose as the rescue effort began to move in the right direction. The two rangers carefully inserted their hands through the gap in the wood, supporting and pulling at the same time so as not to cause further damage to the small body. After several minutes of effort, the cub was finally pulled out, wheezing but safe from the tight enclosure. Long scratches were visible on the stomach and legs, some of which were bleeding from the hard impact with the hard wooden bars. Samuel and Joseph immediately placed it in a prepared iron cage, covering it with thick cloth to keep it warm. The pickup truck started and sped quickly on the red dirt road, heading towards the Ranger Veterinary Station. At the center, two young veterinarians were waiting. They quickly examined the whole body and cleaned the wound. One doctor used antiseptic to clean thoroughly, the other gently bandaged the scratches on the skin. The conclusion was quickly reached: the wound was not serious, just requiring a few days of monitoring and care. The cub was placed in a small cage lined with dry straw, clean water and fresh meat to recover overnight. At night, it lay curled up in the soft yellow light, eyes closed, occasionally shivering slightly in fatigue. Samuel and Joseph sat outside the cage, taking turns keeping watch, making sure it was absolutely safe. Daniel also came over and saw that it was safe. His heart felt relieved after the moments of panic. The three men talked through the night, feeling a strange bond as they saved a life together. As dawn broke, the next plan was put into action: to return the cub to the wild and find his family. The next morning, Samuel and Joseph prepared the iron cage, put the cub inside, and checked the lock carefully. The pickup truck rolled again, traveling more than 20 kilometers through the forest and vast grasslands. The sun gradually rose, golden light spread over the vast natural landscape of the majestic Masai Mara. Finally, before their eyes appeared a family of leopards resting under the shade of a large acacia tree. The mother leopard lay in the middle, her two cubs curled up beside her, their eyes wary but gentle in the sunlight. Samuel signaled the car to stop, and all three silently observed to make sure this was the family of the lost cub. When the cage door opened, the baby leopard immediately rushed out, running straight towards the family. The mother leopard immediately raised her head, her eyes lit up, she let out a loud cry filled with emotion and recognized her youngest child. It threw itself into its mother's arms, rubbing its head against the familiar fur, its eyes shining with indescribable joy. The two leopards also ran over, rubbing and licking, welcoming the little one back after a long night apart. A friendly growl echoed through the forest, signaling a happy reunion in the wild. Daniel, Samuel and Joseph stood at a distance, filled with joy, witnessing the unforgettable sacred moment. On the vast steppe, the leopard family continued their journey, leaving behind people choked with emotion.